Well, last month we talked about passion and purpose. And as you continue to figure out who you are and what you're passionate about so that you can actually fulfill your purpose, you're going to meet all sorts of different people. You are going to come in contact with all sorts of different people. And whether it's at school and getting thrown into group projects, whether it's dealing with different personalities with teachers and administration, whether it's at your job, people that you work with, or like a manager or a boss that you have, throughout life we meet all different kinds of people. And so I want to talk a little bit today about navigating differences, because if we can understand where people come from and perhaps the filter in which they see the world, it might help us to learn from one another and to move forward instead of getting caught up and just stopped with a conflict. So for example, Cyril, who I respect, admire, and really love him. He's an amazing man, but him and I generationally were very different. I was born in a different generation block than Cyril was born. What generation group are you part of?
On Gen X.
Gen X. Very interesting. So, but I was thinking about the Gen X. That means somewhere between 1966 and 1978. And when you think of things that were happening, major events that were happening during those years, you have the Watergate scandal, you have US hostages in Iran, you have computers really coming into people's homes and all of that. Like, I remember getting a computer in my home and even getting email and that sort of thing, and how the sound of the emails dialing in and you wait and all of that. Sorry.
You know, I just like I read somewhere, before the baby bones, the first TV was 3-inch long.
Just a little?
Yeah, 3-inch long TV.
Wow. And now we have these like
170
huge TVs. TVs like you could watch it life size, because especially if you're short and little like me, you watch these big TVs and you feel like it's life size. So people that are born in different generational blocks, they are more aware of situations that are happening. And what we've seen through some basic studies is that they tend to look at the world differently. And so my grandma, she worked through the Great Depression and she had 3 jobs. My grandfather had 3 jobs. They had a whole pile of kids, plus they rented out bedrooms to have boarders in the home just to make ends meet. So they were part of the greatest generation who worked hard and worked hard and worked hard so that they could make ends meet and raise their family. And that's very different to the millennials and the Gen Y generation who, because their parents and their grandparents just thought, I had to work so hard, I want you to be able to enjoy life and you can work later. There's a different philosophy that comes with that. And so Cyril and I actually, technically, according to my birthday, I'm considered a Gen Y, but I feel like I relate more to the Gen Xers. So
Excellent.
That's for a different study altogether. But we might see things differently because of the age difference. Another reason why we might see things differently is like the obvious, I'm a woman and he's a man, and my brain works completely different than his brain. I like the way his brain works, but it's very different. And so if we navigate our differences and how we think and the generations that we were brought up in, then we can actually be stronger as a team than just, oh, well, I don't agree with that, and separate. So the other thing that we need to think about, so I brought some little props because I like props. If I see things, sorry.
If you can put yourself on mute, we are also trying to mute you. No problem. You can put yourself on speakerphone. So sorry.
No, that's okay.
All right, go ahead, Jen.
So another part of this navigating differences is we see things in life through a filter. We see through things in life through our experiences, when we were born, who we are, and it changes how we perceive situations. So I might see things through a filter of the fact that I grew up in Canada. Cyril is going to see things possibly through the filter of he grew up in India. And that also is another difference that we have. But when we come together, because I know his heart for you, I know his heart for seeing people be successful. When we come together with our different filters and our different experiences and we hear each other out, we can actually be so much stronger in coming up with solutions and helping one another. So then another thing that comes when we work together and changes our perspective, we've got some other filters. These filters help me to see even clearer. These specific filters help me to drive at night. They help me to read when things are in really, really small print. I can read better. They help me to focus on my computer after I've been studying for hours and hours and hours. So this filter helps me to be more clear and to see situations better. Right now, they're actually pretty dirty and they need to be cleaned. But all of these things are so important. So as we are moving forward towards our life goals, towards what we're passionate about and our purpose, when we can understand who we are, what we've come from, what might, have a little filter into how we make these decisions, but then we can understand the people in our life who we trust. I'm like, Cyril is successful. He has a good heart. I can trust him. He's a man of integrity. So even if I don't agree with everything, I still can learn from him and gain wisdom, and it will help me to be successful. So today, as you are navigating all the things around you in your school, in your home, with your friends, at work, I want to encourage you to find the gold, find the good, take the wisdom, and leave what you don't need. Right. There are things about people's personality that just rub you the wrong way, but just dismiss that. Don't take that with you, but glean from the wisdom, glean from what is good, because it will help you to be more successful and it will help you to move forward in your life.
Dr. Liz, I was listening to one of those podcasts. There was a guy who's talking about like a difference between a man and a woman, right? So the way the men think is like in their brains, they have boxes for everything, right? They have a box for like a work box. They have a box for family. They have a box for workout. And they have like a box for, watching like a TV. So, and they also have like a box called nothing box.
Right.
So men would like to sit on the nothing box. When they're watching like a football on a Sunday afternoon, they're not thinking about anything and they want to stay in this nothing box, right? And the thing is that when you go tell somebody when they're in the nothing box, nothing gets registered in their mind. And the other way that, I'm just like condensing this, and he says like, men doesn't like to touch each of these boxes touching with each other. Like, that's why when a wife asks him, like, how was your work today? He doesn't want to answer that question. Yeah. Why is my wife box touching my work box?
It's very true.
Private for me, or, if somebody, in the work asks them about the home, they don't like to talk about like a families a lot because they think that's a separate box, right? Yeah. But on the women, they like all these boxes touching each other.
There's no boxes.
Like, no boxes. Everybody is in one place. And so understanding what you said, Dr. Les, is like a very critical. Yeah. Like when we work with somebody, that, knowing what will press that hot button for that person. Yeah. You just don't want to, because what is going to hurt them, what's going to be, a button that is going to be encouraging.
Yeah.
So.
And sometimes we don't know ahead of time what's going to trigger someone to cause a certain reaction. But that's when we can choose to be humble and say, I am so sorry. I didn't realize that you would see it that way. And that's when, because you know someone's heart, you can come back, and there is something to be said about being humble, using good manners, and just saying, Cyril, I am so sorry. I didn't realize that you would see it from that perspective. Would you forgive me? Let's navigate through this. And that helps us, whether it's in our relationships, because remember, when we first started this journey with these classes, we talked about the happiness study. And what comes down to true happiness is strong relationships. When you know you can trust someone, you know they can trust you, you know they have your back. So even if you come up to a conflict, you can humble yourself, apologize, and figure out how you can work through, even if you agree to disagree. Because I am sure there are some things that Cyril and I are just going to be like, I love you, I respect you, but I just don't agree. But we can still work together in moving forward for great things.
Right. And I think that kind of tolerance is also, Dr. Liz, is missing in our country right now. You know, there is no problem with like having differences, but you know, we just need to respect each other and just like work together and make some of these things happen, you know?
And I think we can move things forward so much better when we just come together as friends, as colleagues, as community, and say, all right, sure, we have these differences, but what can we work together, because we have this common goal.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Liz. You know, this is one topic we will come back if possible.
For sure.
You know, because, you know, as these kids are ready to go to college, they are going to run into conflicts at school. All along, you know, we grow up in an environment where we are staying home, or we know our friends, we know who they are, but you know, all of a sudden we're going to be introduced to new set of friends. We're going to be introduced to professors that may or may not agree with our thought processes. And so how do we just like navigate through all these differences and work together as a team? Right? We will come back to it, Dr. Liz. Thank you so much for being with us. I just wanted to recognize Dr. Liz, you know, for, you know, she has like so much on her plate, you know, as a mom, you know, she has you know, the kids to take care of. She's a senior pastor at Antioch. She is like, you know, has her own book that, you know, she's on the road with. She's got a patriotic club. How many clubs are there today, Dr.
I think we're at 57 or 58 in 13 different states.
13 states, and all they are teaching through is like how to be patriotic and how do we embrace this nation's culture and strength. And she has like an amazing book, you know, and some point, you know, we will introduce that to our kids as well. But, you know, beyond that, she has like several things, but I've never seen her just like miss out in teaching the virtual Bible study or being with us in the mornings. Thank you, Dr. Liz.
It's a pleasure.
Amen. Wonderful. Any questions for Dr. Liz before she leaves? Very quiet.
I was going to make a comment to say I agree with the comment you made about feeling closer to the generation before you. I'm right on the cusp of the baby boomers because I'm in 66. So I felt, growing up, I felt like I was a baby boomer because I had more of an impact than the Gen X generation. So I can relate to that.
Yeah. And I think the important point to that is like, don't allow someone else to put you in a box. Look at your personality, your character strengths, and be like, you know, this is more me. And then altogether, like, I'm a no box person anyway. So, but it's important as we look at that, or like, where do I fit? What is, and not to just say, well, if they say I'm a millennial, then I've got to be like this. No, you don't. You are someone very much an individual, and you have that passion and that purpose that you need to follow.
Yeah, new creation.
That's right.